If you're like me, you've been looking at a lot of numbers and graphs lately, especially on the news. Often, graphs can be stimulating to look at, but difficult to understand, and many factors can lead to misunderstanding, including perceptual illusions. When we look at a graph or a big number, it's easy to assume that we can understand them, but these representations of data are often misleading. Here's an example of a perceptual illusion. Which is larger, block A or block B? Well, block A may look larger, but in fact they are the same size. Here, if you don't believe me, I put them on top of each other and also side by side. This is called a Ponzo illusion. It exemplifies the ineffectiveness of some visual representations of data. During the pandemic, one graph I'm sure most, if not everyone, has seen is this. The total confirmed COVID-19 case count. This is an example of exponential growth, and for human brains, it is very difficult to comprehend. But to explain this, let's step away from graphs and look at a real-world example. So this is actually derived from a folktale story written by author Demi. It takes place hundreds of years ago in India, and a local king had collected rice from the farmers of the village for many years to prepare for a famine. Eventually, a famine did happen, but the king didn't distribute the rice to the people like he promised. He kept it all for himself. Now, one smart farmer girl noticed that there was some rice leaking out of one of the containers. She went to the king to present it to him, and the king was very grateful. He said that she could have anything she wanted, but her request was very surprising. She said, "I just want 1 grain of rice. And then every day for a 30-day month, I want that amount to double. And that's it." The king obviously agreed. This is a bargain for all the rice that she saved him, right? Well, let's put it this way. At the end of the month, that farmer had gained control over all of the rice in the king's storage. Over 1 billion grains of rice. Or this much to be exact. Now, there are plenty of ways to demonstrate the incomprehensibility of exponential growth. And if it weren't thunderstorming right now, I'd be outside in a big field talking about exponential growth of surface area, starting with a small amount. But either way, the human brain just isn't very good at understanding exponential growth. It's very rare for us to underestimate the curve as well when thinking about it naturally. However, if you break it down to its fundamentals, the numbers, the math, you can actually do a much better job of understanding that tricky curve. Let's actually do the math right now. It's pretty simple because the calculation is given. It's 2 to the 0th plus 2 to the 1st plus 2 to the 2nd, all the way up to 2 to the 29th power, which adds up to just over 1 billion grains of rice, or again, this much to be exact. And with a calculator, you can see just how fast it adds up. And if that king had actually done his math, he might not have been tricked so easily. So why does this matter? Well, let's take a second and backtrack and see how we got where we are right now in a pandemic. Let's go back to February or even January. And I honestly didn't think it was a big deal when I first saw it on the news. I thought it was just like the previous day's breaking news, which was overblown. Quite frankly, I was very, very wrong because 15 cases turned to hundreds, which turned to thousands in a matter of a couple weeks. And it only exploded from there. So maybe me and many people watching are actually not too different from that king after all. But we can't go into the past to fix our mistakes. We can only learn from them. So stay socially distant, despite how awkward it is. Make sure you wash your hands. Maybe spend some time outside, as long as it isn't thunderstorming. Oh, remember, wear a mask. Make sure it's well fitted. I'm Evan Polsky. Thank you for listening.